Hello.
Dead by Daylight is essentially the Super Smash Bros. Of horror, except that they combine iconic horror franchises with original characters that represent common horror tropes. For example, the Singularity represents sci-fi and rogue AI horror, the Spirit is based on vengeful spirits from Japanese folklore, and the Twins represent the fear of being completely forgotten by everyone, and the fear of French people. So when Behavior started teasing Dead by Daylight Chapter 31 with a creepypasta and a Blair Witch style ARG, it became obvious what they were going to lean into with this chapter. And then, of course, the unknown was revealed, and everyone had one question.
What the hell is even that?
The lore for the unknown specifically states that it's impossible to know the unknown, but I'm built different and I think I know what it is, so let's break everything down and try to get to know the unknown. Let's talk about what the unknown even does. Jesus once said that by their works you shall know them, and while I don't think he was talking about fictional video game monsters, we're going to apply that same logic here and see if it helps us know what the unknown is. Apparently, the unknown can mimic voices, can cause hallucinations, teleport to said hallucinations, sprout tentacles, and spit goo balls out of its neck to poison its victims. So it seems that the unknown Venom X allows it some sort of brainwashing and control over its victims. It's also worth noting that the only cure to the UVX is to literally stare right at the unknown, which makes it seem like getting to know the unknown makes it lose its power over you. However, the lore for the monster states that even thinking about it summons the unknown to you. Specifically, it says, no one has come close to understanding the truth. Were they to succeed in doing so, they would not be alive to share their theories. So while staring at the unknown and making it known takes away its power, learning about it also grants it even more power to stop you. How can it be both? It can't, but it is. It's paradoxical and yet it works. There are several theories as to what the unknown is that are planted in its lore. The first is that it's a serial killer from the Greenville area that was never found, and as such, tales of its doings became exaggerated. The second is that it's an alien that escaped government custody. The third is that it is a failed government experiment. And the fourth is that it's a demon summoned or created by a cult. Different aspects of the unknown's appearance, lore, and add-ons confirm pretty much all of these. Add-on descriptions include a mask owned by a serial killer and a prop used by a local magician who is suspected of being the cause of all the disappearances in town, which give credence to the serial killer theory. Plus, he is holding an axe like some kind of axe murderer. However, the cosmetic description for the axe suggests that it may have been taken from a victim. In its add-ons, there is also a device of undisclosed origin that questions whether or not the unknown is even from Earth. So there are several theories to work with here, but let's look at the unknown's lore and then get into the theories. The in-game lore for the unknown is pretty irregular on Dead by Daylight's terms in the sense that it focuses more on someone who is not the killer in question. We see this whole thing go down through the perspective of Olivia. She's writing her thesis on urban legends and seeks to disprove the existence of the unknown as her project. In her research, she finds possible unknown incidents dating as far back as the 1800s. She then finds references relating to government conspiracies involving the use of hallucinogenics to make test subjects see monsters. According to perk descriptions, the unknown was recognized by the United States government back in 1943 in a heavily redacted report written by the Office of Strategic Services. They noted that much of their World War II machinery had been tampered with by a redacted and that further testing was required. Then they started Project Apple Pie. The OSS seemed to know that thinking about the unknown would summon it to you, so they conducted experiments that would force unwitting participants to think about it and therefore summon it, so they could presumably either capture it or find its homeworld. Evidence of this lies in the add-ons, where there was a poster for a movie about the unknown that was rumored to be state-funded. There's also a video game that was created as part of Project Apple Pie to see if that would change the results in any way, shape, or form. And there's a vial of serum that was supposed to replicate the effects of UVX but failed, which was probably another part of the same OSS project. Going back to Olivia, she had been researching anything and everything that could be related to the unknown and found that the town of Greenville seemed to be different from anywhere else in the United States. One detail that only existed in Greenville was that the strange disappearances were accompanied by a thick black fog that enveloped the victims first. You and I know that this is the calling card of the entity, the elder god of Dead by Daylight that abducts killers and survivors, but this was obviously not known to Olivia. Also, what wasn't known to Olivia is found in Sable Ward's lore. Greenville was built on top of a fracture, where our realm and the entity's realm overlap, strengthening its influence on the area and making it much easier for people to be abducted into the realm of Dead by Daylight. So Olivia went to Greenville and found its second cheapest motel to research the unknown. In her room, she had a map covered in pins and thread, trying to visualize any possible connections that would help her define or disprove the existence of this urban legend. She drew a picture of what she imagined it to look like. and in doing so, she summoned it to her. She heard what sounded like the voice of a friend coming from the bathroom. Her blood ran cold, but her pursuit of knowledge overcame all else, and she opened the door to look at it. As she did, the creature's voice became more strained, almost pained, and it started calling to her for help. What she saw was a bulky shape with frenzied tentacles being pulled into a thick mass of fog. It then began to call to her to join it from beyond the fog, and the story ends without us knowing whether or not Olivia ended up pursuing it. There's a lot to unpack with all of this, but let's talk about what the unknown could be based on what we know. Before summoning the unknown, Olivia drew a picture of what she thought it might look like. 2 paragraphs before that, Olivia imagined whether or not a serial killer, an extraterrestrial, or a government experiment gone wrong would be the best explanation. So a popular theory is that what the unknown is a representation of the victim's understanding of it. Since Olivia was thinking of that, to her, the unknown appeared as a tentacled, venom-spitting alien that also wields an axe like a serial killer. If I were researching into it and I thought it could be a wild animal or a demon from hell, then it might look more like that to me. And since it was trying to kill Olivia when the entity took it, it remained in its form that it was trying to use to trap Olivia. This theory is all well and good. However, depending on how canon these teasers are for Dead by Daylight chapters, this is the same monster that showed up on the security camera. It also looks very similar to the creature in the teaser trailer, with the exception of the eyes being visible in that video. So I don't buy into the theory that the unknown alters its appearance and abilities specifically to match what people think of it. Let's consider the anatomy of this thing. The unknown kind of moves around in an unnatural and floppy way, almost like a corpse being puppeteered. But puppeteered by what? Well, I think the creature is the tentacles, and the body is a victim that it hollowed out and is moving around in. This is backed up by the Mori animation. Notice how the neck goes limp when the tentacles come out, and when the tentacles go back in, the head pops back up. Also, during the Mori, the unknown seems to gouge out the eyes and hollow out the skull of the victim, and then the body disappears afterwards. To me, it seems like this is how the unknown collects other bodies to wear. So the obvious point A to point B line we can draw here is that the unknown is an alien tentacle monster that came to Earth, found a body it liked, and started spitting goo at anybody who thought about it, and then the government found out. But even that is a bit unsatisfying. I don't think a purely sci-fi answer is very satisfying, just like I don't think that it's a manifestation of Olivia's thoughts is a satisfying answer. So let's act like a hentai creator who's all out of ideas and go back to the tentacles. In Dead by Daylight lore, there's a lot more that goes on in the entity's realm than just bad guys yeeting survivors onto hooks. It turns out that the entity has minions that do its bidding and wreak havoc on people who get sucked into the realm but didn't become survivors or killers. The Observer, for example, is a guy who is close to finding a way to escape the entity, and he was repeatedly attacked in the cutscenes by the entity's minions, who had the form of tentacled monsters. Another cutscene shows fan favorite character Maurice, the horse, getting choked out by a giant tentacled monster until a badass Japanese woman named Saku cuts him free and defeats the Leviathan. What I'm getting at here is there is an abnormal amount of tentacled monsters in the entity's realm, and there's a lot of cerebral, supernatural, culty shit going on there too. What if, bear with me, the unknown originated in the entity's realm? It's mentioned in Sable's lore that the fracture upon which Greenville was built possibly opened over a century prior by a cult that worshipped a demon. I think that when this fracture was opened, the unknown either slipped out or was summoned out of it just as a tentacled monster. It then went on to puppeteer bodies and spit goo out at its victims, and the government gave that goo the goofy sci-fi ass name Unknown Venom X. The entity's realm is a very cerebral one, and the fog is the manifestations of thoughts and memories of those who have been affected by the entity. So coming from such a dimension may grant the unknown the attunement with thoughts and allow it to recognize when people are thinking about it, thus giving it fresh new targets to chase. Then maybe the havoc it wreaked across North America over those centuries altered it from its original form and gave it the potential to be promoted, let's say, from a tentacle grunt to a full-blown killer in the trials. That's what I believe the unknown is, but the fact that I'm still live recording this is pretty solid evidence to me being wrong. The cool thing about the unknown is how open-ended the lore is. At the end of the day, pretty much any theory you could make on it would be valid. It's a representation of our tendency as humans to exaggerate and alter facts to what makes a better story, and it's Dead by Daylight's crack at creepypasta horror, and I honestly believe that they knocked it out of the park here. But anyway, What? No, wait!